On the Crested Butte Home podcast this week, my guest is Tim Poppe, and he is a physical therapist who hails from Houston, Texas, as well as the Front Range. And in Crested Butte, like any mountain town, it seems like somebody is always ending up going to the physical therapist because we work hard and we play hard. So I thought that he would be a great interview subject, and that certainly was the case. I learned a lot, and some of it can also be preventative. He does bike fits, for instance, which means that he'll get you all dialed in on your bike. But anyway, please subscribe, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Android. And if you're not super familiar with the podcast, subscribing doesn't mean that you pay anything. It just means that you'll get the latest episodes downloaded straight to your phone. So anyway, let's get on with the show. My guest today on the Crested Butte Home podcast is Tim Poppe. And Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and how you got here.
Oh, geez. I'm from Texas. I grew up, not born. I was born in California and moved to Texas at an early age and raised there, college and graduate school, and became a physical therapist and worked in Texas for 7 or 8 years, and then I decided I couldn't handle the city of Houston anymore, and I needed to get to the mountains. So I was lucky enough to find a job in Denver. And a few years into that, I got offered an opportunity to open a physical therapy clinic in Gunnison. And that was, I think, 12 or 13 years ago.
And here you are.
I am.
So you were in, all that was in Houston, Texas, or other places?
Yeah, I was mostly raised in Houston. Okay. And then, I went to college in Texas, went to graduate school in Texas, and then moved back to Houston after school and worked as a PT there for 7 or 8 years, and then to Colorado.
So what? So if you're in Houston, what made you want to be in the mountains? You must have been taking trips up here, or what?
No, I'd never been to Colorado, but when I was in high school, I really got into road biking, and at that time, so like middle, late 80s, Colorado was the place to go.
Sure.
I mean, that was like that was when the 7-Eleven team was like racing the Tour de France and becoming a professional bike team. I was like, I got to move to Colorado.
Yeah, Coors Classic.
Yep, I got to move to Colorado and ride my bike, and I was always interested in the outdoors, and so after a while of working in Houston, I was like, I just got to go. I got to go to Colorado, and I got to go to Colorado and check it out. So I left. I found a job. I started coming up to Colorado and skiing. I was probably like 30 years old when I finally learned to ski.
Awesome.
And so I was coming up like once or twice a year to go skiing, and I came up for a ski trip, and I lined up a couple interviews in Denver before, like literally the day before I flew out.
Wow, nice.
I did a couple interviews, flew back to Houston, went to work, got a call, said, hey, we'd like to offer you a job, and like a month later, I'm living in Denver.
Wow.
It was awesome, wow. And it was amazing. I moved to Denver, and oh my gosh, it was life-changing. Like I thought it was the most incredible place I'd ever been to.
Sure.
And then it was funny. Like the first year I was in Denver, of course, like I'd done a little bit of rock climbing in Texas and a little bit of what Texas has to offer for mountain biking. And so I moved, and of course then I met all these like-minded people in Denver. They wanted to rock climb and go hiking and go camping and go mountain biking, and so I met all these people. And one day a buddy of mine is like, "Hey, we're gonna go to this place called Crested Butte. Do you want to go?" I was like, "Sure." So we packed up, and this was like the first year I lived in Denver, so like probably 15 plus years ago, and we came out here for a weekend and we camped out, and I was like, "Man, this is a cool town. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could live here and work as a PT?
Yeah.
And 2 years later, so I was working for a company in Denver, a big physical therapy company, and they had decided to open a clinic in Gunnison. And he came to me. This is like 2 years after I'd been to Crested Butte. Never had come back. And he's like, "Yeah, we're going to open this clinic in Gunnison. Do you want to go do that?"
No way.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And so I kind of played it cool. I was like, "Yeah, maybe. Maybe I should go check it out first." And so I came out here in like February, and it was like dumping snow. I skied for like 2 days. Came back. I was like, yeah, I could probably. I mean, I'm going to need a raise to go out there, but yeah, I guess I could go out there and open that up for you guys. It was awesome. It was incredible. It's like it was meant to.
Nice.
It's like it was meant to happen. It was super cool. So yeah, I ended up there and I opened a clinic in Gunnison, and then a clinic on the mountain about a year later. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Did that for a long time. So
yeah.
So what? So you already mentioned you ski a little, and then road biking. What else do you do for fun around here?
I love mountain biking in the summer. Man, especially this summer, like I've gotten into fly fishing.
Nice.
And I love it. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. I could like spend all day fishing. It's I grew up doing a lot of fishing, like saltwater fishing as a kid, and so I always kind of loved it.
Bait fishing though, I assume.
Yep, a lot of bait fishing and a lot of lure fishing, chuck and steel, and and I love fishing, and so I kind of got back into it, and so it's been great. I actually like made this like concerted effort this summer to put the bike away a little bit and fish more.
Nice.
And it's been awesome. I'm in terrible shape, but I'm having a great time.
That's cool to start something new. I think about that all the time because I'm a 2-track. I ski and a bike, and I basically do nothing else.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, maybe I should add something else. And I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, like, just like you, well, not like you, but I picked up hockey like maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And another sport I'm terrible at.
No, you're not.
But I love it. It's so much fun. It's the cool thing I think about fishing and hockey are, fishing you need absolutely no fitness. Hockey you need some fitness, but it's just learning all these new skills.
Yeah.
Like every time you go out, you can get better.
Yeah.
And it's not about like how hard did I train. It's about did I learn a new skill? Did I learn? Right. And so it's so much fun to do because it's not just kind of like, all right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to ride as hard as I can and try and get in better shape. I'm going to work on a wrist shot or a slap shot or work on casting or whatever it is. It's cool. It's new skills to learn and it's a blast. And, my son has been playing hockey for a few years, and I think at this point I'm just trying to like work hard to stay ahead of him.
As long as you can, because he's going to pass you.
Which like maybe might be just like one more year.
Right. No, and that's it's it's incremental. Like getting a little bit better at something you're already good at is like, are you okay? Well, maybe you're like 0.1% better because you worked on it, but a new thing, you're like, oh, I'm like 10% better than I was yesterday. Man, this is great.
It's so much fun.
So
yeah.
All right. Well, let's. You kind of mentioned physical therapy, PT, but before we get into that, let's hear some stories about you injuring yourself.
Oh my gosh, I'm hurt all the time.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't. It's like a whole like laundry. We could do like a whole
just
hour on my injuries. But I've had. I think I've had like 8 knee surgeries and 2 shoulder surgeries.
No way. Oh.
And probably like 4 or 5 shoulder separations and.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been hurt. I've been hurt a bunch, but.
I asked that question not knowing that you had quite that bad of a track record.
Yeah, my track record is terrible.
Are you a good patient?
I'm a terrible patient.
Oh no,
I'm a terrible patient. like every doctor that's probably ever treated me will tell you, like, oh yeah, Tim, he's my worst patient. In fact, I've got doctors that will say, like, I'm their top 3 worst patient.
Oh no!
Of their
And that includes the physical therapy part.
Career. I do pretty good. I try and do okay. Sometimes I'm great with physical therapy. Sometimes I'm not. But I don't know. I guess it's hard. I mean, I don't know. You do physical therapy with people all day long. The last thing you want to do is
just go home and do it yourself.
It's your own.
Exactly. So your patients who come back and sheepishly say, I didn't really do all my exercises, you're like, yeah.
It doesn't mean I give them any leeway.
Okay.
Still got to get it done.
All right.
So, yeah, I've had a bunch of injuries and a bunch of surgeries, and I don't know, man. I've had a great time. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it is what it is, and you could look back and say, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that and gotten hurt. I wish I hadn't done that and gotten hurt. But when you, like, at the end of the day, like, man, I think about it, like, so I'm about to go in for my 9th knee surgery next week. I've got to get some hardware taken out of my knee, and I'm getting a total knee replacement maybe next year.
Oh no!
And I'm like, oh man, I'm like 50 years old, almost 50, and I'm getting my knee replaced, and I don't know. I've skied a bunch and I've biked a bunch.
Yeah.
And I've hiked almost all the 14ers, and I've run marathons and trail marathons, and man, I got a great life out of my knee, and I'm going to get a new one and move on.
No, I mean, that's a sign of a life well lived. Put some miles on your
I'm getting the full
body.
use out of my body.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, let's get into work. So why'd you get into physical therapy?
Wow. So I've always had this interest in biomechanics and sports performance. And understanding how the body works, even from high school. Like high school, I got into road bike racing, which was like, when I was in high school in Texas, like road bike racing, like you could probably find like 3 races a year. So basically, you just rode your bike a lot, and you hoped that there was a race that you could find that you might go race in.
Clearly, pre-Lance, obviously.
Pre-Lance, it was the Greg LeMond days.
Okay,
and so I was really into it, and I was really into like proper bike setup and bike fit, and like just good position on the bike.
Yeah,
and so I really got into biomechanics, and I was in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And my dad actually encouraged me to go to a PT clinic and see what they do. And I loved it. It was amazing. I mean, they were working on, they were helping people walk again, helping people get back to what they love to do.
Sure.
And it involved all these things that were really interesting to me, the body and how it worked and mechanics. And so I got into physical therapy, and I love it.
And you love it?
Oh man, nice. I love it. Every day I love it. Yeah.
Nice. You talked about bike fit. I've heard that's something you do as well,
right?
I
love doing bike fits.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice. I love it. And, I do a number of them in the spring and the summer and a couple in the fall, and I can't do enough of them. I love looking at that, and I love somebody coming to me with their bike with a problem and piecing it together and figuring it out, and then hearing back from them that
it's better.
To hear somebody to work on somebody's bike and help them become more comfortable on their bike, and then they come back to me and say, "Man, all that knee pain or shoulder pain, that I had,
back pain,
gone. Or back pain, it's gone."
And sometimes all it is like a different stem or something.
It's a different stem, or changing the seat height, or it's so simple, but it's really cool, and it's that like interest in bike fit that I've had since I was like 16 years old.
Yeah.
And it's
nice.
cool. I love I analyze that all the time. Like I can't go anywhere and like watch somebody ride a bike without analyzing. Like, oh, that seat looks a little high.
You'll have to follow me someday. I did. We used to have the 24 hours apartments. I don't know if you moved here when we still had that. But,
oh yeah.
So I did it solo only 1 year,
Oh,
and so did 18 laps. That was like 200 some miles, and I partially tore my Achilles. And I didn't crash or anything. I clearly had some.
Yep.
5 degrees off with my pedal stroke or something. And after that many revolutions.
Wow,
really? There's just a little lump in it, but no surgery.
It healed
or
up
anything.
and no problem.
It sucked all fall and then put it in a ski boot and it's good to go.
And it went away.
Yeah.
Nice.
But anyway, let's. So you've worked in areas like Houston, that maybe have less athletic people than probably Crested Butte. So how is that different, and how's PT different in Crested Butte versus a city where you might get some.
Very, very different. I think the two biggest things that are different are in Crested Butte, in a mountain town like this. People are such good athletes, and we spend a lot of time, at least I spend a lot of time as a physical therapist teaching people how to move and how to move properly. Maybe it's not the best word, but teaching them how to move and teaching them body awareness. And people here are such good athletes, and they're so athletic that their body awareness is so good that it's so easy to teach people here.
Yeah.
They don't know that they're doing something wrong that's causing shoulder pain or knee pain or whatever it might be. But it's so easy to teach them how to do it correctly and make them feel better.
Uh-huh.
Whereas in, living in Houston, Texas, like you get a little bit of the percentage of the population that's really good at that because they're athletic.
Yeah.
And then you get these people that you don't even know if they understand that they have a knee because they have so little body awareness.
Right.
And so to teach them how to move more efficiently and more correctly is it's a challenge. But on the flip side, you go there and you're trying to get somebody better and you're working in a city like Houston or Dallas or whatever it is. And, it's so easy. All right, I need you to back off. I need you to, I don't want you to run for the next week, or I don't want you on your bike, or I don't want you in the gym, or whatever it is. And here, that is the toughest thing. It's the toughest thing. You almost have to plead with people, please don't ride your bike this week. Please don't go for a run. Please just take it easy for a couple of weeks. It's like reining people in here is the hardest thing. And in other places, it's it's almost like this foregone conclusion. You say, all right, so I don't want you running for the next month. Okay, no problem.
I haven't ran in 10 years.
You're like, I don't want you to run for the next week. What? I was going to go run a marathon tomorrow.
Right.
Right. So it's those are the biggest differences working around,
Don't go skiing. All right, I'll stick to the groomers.
Oh yeah, totally. You're
groomers
to tell
don't
somebody
count.
Yeah.
In the Crested Butte Real Estate Minute, I wanted to talk about some of the hotter markets nationally, like Denver and Seattle, which reports are saying they're starting to slow down a little bit, and that's not surprising, but that is also not what we're seeing here in Crested Butte. In fact, we've been as busy as we've ever been. So, but the reason I bring it up is because we often will do what those markets do just a year or two later. So perhaps we will see a slowdown, although with Vail and the investments that they're projected to make, that might be quite some time. So I guess why I'm saying that is that, if you're on the sidelines waiting, I think it honestly will be a little bit of a long wait. And also, who knows what the interest rates will do. They've been rising and will most likely continue to do so. So those are my thoughts on that. My name is Frank Consella. My website is crestedbutterealestateagent.com. And you can contact me there, and we can have a little talk about Crested Butte and Gunnison Real Estate. I'd love to talk to you. So what are some of the hardest injuries that you see that you have the hardest time helping people out with?
Oh, wow. Sometimes it's the overuse injury, whether it's like a elbow or a shoulder tendonitis, or even just some low back pain, like a disc injury or something. And people here are so active, it's hard to get them better because it's hard to get them to back off.
Because that's really what
they give, and they need one. They need a little bit of body work and a little bit of therapy, and two, they need a little bit of rest. And sometimes it's hard because you got a guy that I don't know, he's a blacksmith or a carpenter,
right?
And you're like, hey, need you to give your back a little bit of rest. Well, that's
nice.
That's a great idea, Tim. That's not really going to happen,
right?
And so those can be sometimes they seem like they should be the easiest, and sometimes they can be the most challenging. And then, man, living here, I think that's one of the other differences between working in a place like Houston is, especially during the winter, people ski so hard, and man, you see a couple of people break their femur, and man, those are tough injuries.
Yeah,
those can be tough injuries to recover from, and you don't see those in it. I mean, those are.
You don't get a lot of
femur fractures in Houston, Texas, but it's amazing. Like, you live in a town of like a city of like 4 million people, and you don't see that many, and you live in a town of like 3,000. And
I can name 10 people off the top of my head.
We all know like a whole list of people.
I've already had a guest with one. I mean, yeah.
You've had a whole bunch of people that do that, and man, those are tough injuries. Those can be super tough injuries to come back from.
Yeah. Are there times when like what you're trying to do just isn't working, and then you just have to, look, it's time for surgery or a different method?
Yeah, I would say that happens. I mean, yeah, people come to me and they, and we say, hey, we're going to give it 2 weeks. We're going to do our best. If you do what I ask you to do, and we do our best job in here, if we're not making progress in 2 weeks, and then we got to go back to the drawing board. And the doctors will do that too. The doctors will send you somebody and say, we think they've got a partially torn rotator cuff or a little meniscus tear. Let's try some therapy, and if that doesn't work, then
we'll
have to opt for surgery.
Yeah.
And so you do your best, and it's frustrating because you want to make everybody that walks in the door feel just as good as they did before they ever got hurt.
Right.
And when it doesn't happen, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I bet. What are some of your favorite, like, what's your I guess your thoughts on PT? What are your favorite methods? Like, what's your grand scheme of your PT philosophy, I guess?
Wow, I think the thing that's most important to me is teaching is I love doing manual therapy. So like I love doing, mobilizing joints and soft tissue and doing soft tissue release and being able to like use my hands to change somebody's muscle tone or change the way their shoulder or their back or their ankle moves. And it's cool to use, the techniques that have been developed, somewhat recently, like trigger point dry needling. So using an acupuncture needle to change the tone of a muscle so somebody has less pain, or maybe their muscle works better.
Okay.
Or using, we use some of my patients hate it, but we use and most of them love it, is the Graston technique, which is using metal instruments to help change mobility or eliminate or mobilize scar in a joint, maybe like after a surgery.
Yeah.
And so there's really cool techniques like that are really fun to use and see that change and see people like work on somebody for 5 minutes and then like, wow, that feels amazing. I feel a ton better. And I love doing that manual therapy part. But I think, it goes back to the reason I got into physical therapy is I love biomechanics and I love the way the body moves. And I think we have this discussion in my clinic all the time. The therapists that I work with, we have this discussion. If you had to just use exercise or manual therapy, and you could only use one but not the other, what would you choose? And it's a tough question to answer, and but I think I would always choose exercise because I can do manual therapy and make somebody feel better, but I can't necessarily keep them better. But if I can teach them to move better, and if I can make them stronger and help them move better, then I have the potential to return them to their lifestyle without needing therapy in the future.
To ever come back.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's I think that's the most powerful tool. And I love analyzing movement and then helping somebody and seeing them move better and feel better. It's pretty amazing. I think I don't know. That's what I love.
Perfect. That was the question I was trying to ask. You answered that there's two schools of thought, I guess, that are two ways you can go about it. So, how do you so this wasn't a question I was going to ask, but so if it's a skiing injury, are you watching them ski? Do you or is it really more the way they're moving their body in general?
It's mostly 90-95% of the time I don't get to see them ski, but it's the way that I can analyze how they move in my office.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest part of it is analyzing movement in the office. Seeing how they do a squat or what their balance is like or how they walk and taking that and associating that with maybe what kind of problems they're having skiing, and then
gotcha.
And it's kind of cool. You can watch somebody walk or watch somebody do a squat before you ever test their strength. And and it's kind of cool to watch somebody do that, and you're like, okay, I'm going to test their strength, and I'm probably going to find this and this and this, and then you put them on the table, and you're like, yep. That's the problem. Okay, we're going to fix X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to teach you how to do this, and then
it's good.
And you're off to the races. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. What are there a couple stories that were particularly challenging patients maybe, or that you're particularly proud of that you can really talk about?
Wow.
Or just a really good case study. I don't know if that makes sense.
The guy somebody that comes to mind is somebody I've treated in the last couple of years, and it's probably him, man. He there's probably a bunch, but this is the most recent one, and man, he had a bad femur fracture. It was terrible. And he was in a lot of pain, and he struggled. And I think one of the most impressive things was how tough he was, and how hard he worked, and how motivated he was. And as tough, no matter how tough it got, man, he was in there 2-3 days a week.
Yeah.
And we just kept at it, and he came in, we did our thing, and it was awesome to see him the next ski season skiing hard again, feeling great, and back to what he loved.
Nice.
And it was super cool. I mean, I think that's the most rewarding thing is with that person, and really anybody, is you see somebody we moved to Crested Butte for a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And man, when that lifestyle just gets
taken
away from you, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so to see somebody get back to that, especially after a really
bad one,
a really bad injury like that, it's awesome. I mean, you you never forget.
Yeah, that's got to be super rewarding.
So,
athletes, we're hearing a lot more about like injury prevention, and I feel like physical therapy is probably doing more of that than maybe they used to. So, like, what are some of your thoughts on injury prevention for the average Crested Butte athlete, maybe that they could think about?
Wow, I think there's it would be great to see. I think most people. We talk about lifestyle, and everybody moves here for a lifestyle, to bike and to run and to ski and to hike and to fish and whatever it is. And I get caught in that trap as well. Like, I go to work, I hang out with my kids, and whatever free time I have is spent on doing those things that I love.
Yeah.
And I think as an athlete, and which is what everybody here is an athlete, I think to take some time out of every week to do some kind of workout and some kind of body work, to work on flexibility and strength and body control and body awareness, probably would go so far to keep us out of a doctor's office and a PT's office. And so I offer this. I usually offer this every fall and periodically through the year for people to come in and get a functional movement assessment and see how they're moving, see where their weaknesses are.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can head off some of those problems that might be lurking, that might rear their head in the future. And if we could head some of those off just by pinpointing, here's some of your areas of weakness or loss of flexibility or not loss of range of motion. Here's some exercises to correct those. I think that would be huge for people to take advantage of. And I don't think we take advantage of that.
No.
Quite.
No.
Enough.
Well,
myself
let me in particular know if you do that, because I am definitely one of those people who I don't work out and I don't stretch, but I get after it as much as I can.
It's funny because I think I'm about. I usually offer that. I usually offer that. Pretty soon. Like, we're getting pretty close to ski season,
starting to get a little slower.
Yeah, and like the people that I see in the spring or early in the summer that have an injury that would particularly pertain to that might affect their skiing.
Yeah.
I always encourage them. I always encourage them to come back in September or October before you start skiing. Let's just check things out.
Yeah.
Let's make sure. Let's reset that whole exercise program, that whole preseason ski program, and be ready for ski season again. And
what program? I thought you just go skiing.
That's what I do. That's what I do, which hasn't always particularly worked well.
Which you've already said you're not a great patient. So there you go. Well, it's a slightly different topic, but you recently went from a previous physical therapy to being an independent business. So how's that been working?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. My clinic's been open since the beginning of May.
And what's it called again?
It's Crested Butte Physiotherapy.
Cool. And
we're over on 2nd Street near the Slogar, which is awesome. I just went to dinner there last night after work. And I love it, man. I should have done it a long time ago. I should have gone out on my own, and I love working for myself.
Nice.
I worked really hard for my previous employer, and I ran that clinic like it was my own. And I think something that was missing for me was that I was working for somebody else and not working for myself. And it's going great. And there's still a ton of stuff to do, and I feel like I could work all day every day.
Yeah, that's the problem with that.
Man, when I work a ton of hours, or I get up early, or I stay up late and I work, I don't care. I'm like,
nice.
It's my own. It's my own thing, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
Do you find yourself spending more time? I'm sure you do. Like in the business, like the business aspects and not seeing your patients as much? That's gotta. Are you okay with that part of it?
I'm okay with that part of it, and it's funny because I was for the first couple months or so, I kept my patient schedule the same as it was before, and I was trying to do all the business stuff like in the morning or at night.
Yep.
And my wife finally, she put an end to it.
Yeah.
She's like, you need to schedule some time during the week,
during the day to
take care of your business. Like you can't do this at night. You can't do this in the morning. So, and so that's been really good. Nice. Like I take a half a day off in the middle of the week, and I sit down and I work on the business, and I kind of process things and stay on top of things, and it's been, and it's great. And that's made me expand how much I work during the week to still see patients and do that.
Sure.
But I don't know. I wouldn't change it.
Go back.
I'm so glad I did it. Yeah.
Nice.
So glad.
Nice. Well, let's start to wrap it up a little bit. And Crested Butte is home for you. So why do you choose to still make Crested Butte home?
Oh gosh, it's such a great. I mean, I love to ski and bike and hike and fish, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. It's just I love the town of Crested Butte. I love this town of Crested Butte. It's growing up in a huge city. I think I always wanted to live in a small town where, man, you can walk down the street and always see people that you know.
Yeah.
Like you can go into a restaurant or go into a bar and have a beer, and you can go by yourself and you're going to see 10 people in there.
Right.
Right. And, it's such a great community, and I love the way, it just seems like everybody, I feel like we all just kind of are always looking out for each other. And there's been times through my life here where people have helped me out in this community that I don't think that would have happened in a,
if you were still, yeah,
and it's amazing, and now now with 3 kids, I can't imagine a better place
for them to grow up.
Oh man, there's my kids are so lucky.
Yeah,
and
they don't know
every kid in this town is so lucky. Like I talk to people all the time, and I was just talking to somebody today. I was like, man, I hope my kids realize later in life how lucky they are to grow up in a place like this where not only just their family, but there's so many people in this town that are looking out for them and have their interest in mind and want to see them succeed, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people learn more about you?
Where can people learn more about me?
Do you have a website yet?
My website is almost done. It's CrestedButtePhysiotherapy.com.
Okay.
It'll be up soon. I have a Facebook page, Crested Butte Physiotherapy, and Instagram account is CB Physiotherapy. And so those are probably the best places to find me.
Perfect. Is there anything I didn't ask I should have?
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right, fair. And final question: who else should I interview?
Wow. Man. If you haven't already, I think like Allie at Big Al's.
Yeah.
And Ben Eaton, I think, would be a super cool interview.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think those would be
2 good choices for sure.
Choices.
For sure, I know both of them, so that would be good. All right, well, thanks so much for coming, and
thank you.
Hopefully we're on a hockey team again this winter.
Yeah, hopefully we're on a winning hockey team this year.
Or just a hockey team. It's all good. It's fun.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.